We're back again for another interview, and we have the privilege to meet what some might call the grandmother of Mondioring. She's been doing this a long time, and I want to introduce Ann
Putegnat.
Putegnat. That's impossible for me to say. I've been trying for a long time.
Just Ann is fine.
Okay, and it is then. You've been doing this a long time, and I can remember the first time I met you. I had a little puppy here at the field, and I was like, what in the heck am I getting into? These people are plain nuts. So how long have you been participating in Mondioring?
Began playing in this sport in 1999.
1999. So I was just barely born then.
Just in diapers, huh?
Yeah. So I've been told that Mondioring was almost non-existent in the United States when you and a couple other people started a club and started bringing it more available to the United States?
Well, we had a club. Mondioring was born out of an IPO club, or at that time, Schutzen. And there had been some people that had made an attempt at Mondioring, but there wasn't an organizer in the bunch. It just wasn't their nature. They loved the sport, but it never went anywhere. And I don't know whether it's a curse or not, but I do organize things, and took it on at the time, and really got it moving with the help of my club, which was Lone Star. At that time, we were an IPO club, like I said, but we organized a big event in 2000, and we had a judge from Canada, a decoy from Canada, and a decoy and just a guy from Switzerland. And they came for about 10 days. It was a huge event. And we had a seminar, and during that time, all of us got trained, sort of, and we put on a trial, and it was maybe 8 dogs, all for brevet. And the first day was brevet. So, and then we had a meeting, and we joined together and formed USMRA at that time.
So before USMRA was joined, I've kind of heard some stories that, did you travel overseas before that?
No, it wasn't until after that.
Okay, after that.
It was after that. 2000, what I'm talking about, it was in January, and by December of 2000, or actually October, I got suckered into going to Europe to attend what was then called the GTIM meeting, and that was pre-FCI. I was not the president, never wanted to be the president, but the president bailed on me for that particular meeting, and we had to have somebody there. And that was Jeff White, who is still a dear friend. He was one of the original people involved in Mondioring, and it was because of him that I became interested, because he hosted a small little training seminar in Colorado. But he was not able to go that year to that big event. So 2000 was my first visit to a World Cup. Wasn't called World Cup, but I went, had a great time, went to the meeting, and I think I've been to 18 since that time. 18
meetings?
18 World Cups.
Okay.
With the exception of this year, I did not go to Russia. I just didn't, a lot of people didn't quite make it to Russia.
So for someone that's fairly new to the sport, in it for almost 3 years now, I just got my decoy certification. I just really started trialing with a dog. I've got a second dog, and I want to experience all these things. Would you, for a new competitor, would you say going to a World Cup or World Championship is a great experience? I mean, can you explain that to us some?
Yes, I would. Not necessarily with the dog.
Yeah.
Just as going and understanding the complexity of the sport, and also the dedication that there is around the world, and all of the different personalities involved. I have friends from many, many different countries, and I've been fortunate enough to go and train there and stay there and, just enjoy life in Europe many times. But I think it has really added to my commitment to the sport here.
Yes, so you say obviously it's much more involved overseas. At the World Cup, we had local trials here, and I've seen trials anywhere from 2 dogs to like 8 or 9 dogs. 12 dogs was a pretty big trial. What's the atmosphere like at a World Championship?
Well, it really depends on where it is. There have been all kinds of different places. Like, I remember one year, actually I can't remember exactly where it was, where there were just thousands of people. Oh, it was in Belgium, and in 2009 in Virton in Belgium. thousands upon thousands of people attended that particular event. And I don't know how many dogs. You can only have 50 level 3 dogs. That's the maximum that you're allowed to have because of the time that it takes to judge a level 3 dog. But we've filled, Mondioring has filled that level many, many times. This year in Russia was the exception, and it just was not a good time for that many people to be going to Russia this year for all kinds of reasons. But I'm glad that the ones that went, and I'll leave it at that.
So we'll talk about the World Championship now. What about the U.S. Nationals? Have you judged U.S. Nationals?
No, I don't. No U.S. judge has judged it. We provide our service on the field as field help, as deputy judge, as judge's secretary, etc. That's pretty much a policy that we followed for quite a few years. I personally believe that having the European judges, especially the ones with lots of experience, is in our favor. We need to learn from them. We are not able to have as many trials here as they have in Belgium, as they have in France, as they have in the other countries. So those judges have a whole lot more experience than we do, lots more experience. And I really love to learn from them when they come over and set up and judge those nationals. This last year I was the interpreter for a gentleman from Spain, and that was a hugely powerful experience for me to be able to interpret for him as the judge's. I wasn't the judge's secretary, his wife was, but I interpreted for both of them and our table or trial secretary. Learned a tremendous amount.
I'm definitely looking forward to experiencing, especially nationals, the World Championship. It's something that when I made a comment. I wasn't really competitive when we first met, and you called my bluff.
I did call your bluff.
Early on then, and Mondioring to me is way more than just a dog on a field. The community that we have together, and the friends that you make, and not only the bond that you build with your dog. You spend so much time with it. For this is the first sport I've ever competed in, but it is provided me with so much joy. I've met so much great people. I've worked some great dogs now, and it's a good sport for my family. It seemed like it bonded us together, and it made my family a lot bigger. There's a couple of people that I really respect in the sport, and those are Kevin, you, and Karen. There's a few others, because at the end of the day, y'all never steer me wrong, and you just tell me how it is.
We'll tell you how it is, Chase.
and that's the best part of it.
I told you were competitive, didn't I?
Yeah, and then I put a lot of miles on my car now, and I just begun.
I'm not competitive.
Yeah.
I'm not competitive. I've competed a jillion times, and I'm not competitive.
Yeah, and I can see, and no, there's no right or wrong way to do it, but I've seen you compete a lot of times with some dogs, and or trained a long time, and I'm one of those. My feeling is I don't want to go on the field till I'm like, I know I'm going to score really, really good, and that's going to be my.
You have some sadness in your future, Chase.
That is going to be.
That's not a Mondioring.
my
success story.
My little bit of a career has been successful, and I know I'm gonna have some dark days.
Your day
eventually.
will come.
Yeah. So, and I think you called it day 2 blues. When I trialed the first time, you said not to go the second day, and the wheels fell off pretty hard then.
Yeah, they do.
So,
happens.
How many dogs do you think you've trained through your careers? Endless.
It's not endless, but I've trained in all of the protection dog sports and in AKC. And every single one of those disciplines has their challenges. Every one of them.
Yeah.
From Schutzen now, I don't know what the letters are now. They're changing. To, I had the first Malinois in Schutzen.
Is that the one that Jesus made?
Jesus did.
Jesus made that.
Jesus made that dog. You made a joke and I laughed. That's phenomenal.
So I actually got to experience your house. I actually got to come to Lone Star Mondioring Club and trial down there and have that experience. And there's a lot of cool memorabilia in your house. I got to see your Littlewood collection. Can you explain what that is to someone that might be watching?
It's a collection of little woods.
Yeah.
But there's a little more to it than that. I've saved every one that my dog ever did successfully in a trial. And where's wood to knock on? There's wood. To this date, no dog has ever brought me the wrong Littlewood. And I guess the reason I started saving them because some of my very good friends that know more than I do in Mondioring insisted that my technique was absolutely ludicrous and it would never work. So that's why I have 2 shelves in my china closet with Littlewoods on them.
Yeah, there's got to be 20 or more at least.
Oh yeah, more than 20.
Yeah.
So probably because I have some dogs that it took a long time to title,
Yeah.
so they got to do those levels a lot of times.
Yeah.
And I have one of those now. She's provided me with many Littlewoods.
Gotcha. And we all, as dog trainers and competitors, have some way memorabilia from trials, and I just thought that was a cool collection. You know, cool. Pictures and all of that, but the Littlewoods especially can be a good story piece. You can pick that Littlewood up and say, "Oh, I remember this dog," and I got to experience some of your dogs. I've worked with Beto a little. I've got a pretty good picture of that. You kind of set me up in a blind. And
No. Kevin set you up.
Yeah.
I did not set you up.
Yeah, I remember Beto pretty well, and I've seen Kestra and then Pancho Villa now. Yeah. And there's many sports, many techniques, and we all take the pieces that we want to add to the dog and make it successful.
Yes.
So through your Mondioring career, what is maybe one of the grandest experiences? Can we?
No doubt, beyond a shadow of a doubt, it was when the U.S. World Team came in first. When we placed first at the World Cup.
Do you know what year that was?
It was 2-3 years ago.
Where was it?
3 years. I think it was 2012. But maybe not. I don't know when it was. I don't have to remember dates, but it was.
Yeah,
I was there. It was pretty amazing.
So can you talk a little bit more? Maybe who went that year, or
and what made it special? Now you're going to put me on the spot. Kevin was there. Kevin did his super selection at that particular one.
I was there.
2016.
Okay, so 2016. There you go.
12. I was still young.
Oh yeah, you were.
I remember
just a child. Yes. I cannot rattle off the whole team, but we placed second in level 1. I think we did second. I don't know what we did in level 2, but we had enough overall points that our team was the number 1 team for the world. And watching them up there with that national anthem playing was, it was pretty breathtaking. But the most significant thing about it to me was that, because a lot of those old timers, there's other old timers there in other countries besides me. And the old timers came to me afterwards and shook my hand and said, "There, you made it, finally." And I really didn't. I wasn't team captain. I was just there. I was a tourist. But they remembered, the number of years that I'd put into helping to get teams there. And it was fun. That was a real highlight for me.
Yeah, I remember seeing all the pictures, and I think that was my first year in Mondioring. That was the first time I started focusing on the news and the teams and meeting everybody. So that was a cool experience. And you said you've been to 18.
Yes.
And then that's the first time that the team has placed.
It's the only time.
Yeah.
It's the only time we've been on close to the podium. Actually, we're on the podium that year, I believe. David Broderick came in second that year at level 3. So we've come close, but we haven't quite made it to that top slot yet. That's out there for somebody.
Yeah, that would be a big feat for
that would
the
be a
US
big
guys.
feat, really big feat.
So, Mondioring can give you some of the biggest highs in the world, especially succeeding on the field or meeting your goals, or the team winning the world championship. But obviously, there's all the low times where stuff doesn't go right. The dog didn't do what we wanted. Is there one particular scenario or experience that you had?
I can't say that it was a low, but I do have, certainly I have had a dog that challenged me pretty much beyond my capacity, at least to date. Let's put it that way. But the dog that I have now, Kestra, has been an enormous challenge, figuring out how to deal with a dog that is not only that strong, but that trial-wise. And once a dog is truly trial-wise, I don't have the answer yet, but I'm still working on it.
Yeah.
Until she can't go over the jumps anymore and can't try, she's going to keep going out there and trying. And when I figure it out, I'll let you know the secret to trial wiseness.
So you're the I guess the president of Lone Star Mondioring Club. Is that how?
Nope. I never want to be president of anything.
You're the coordinator.
I don't even know what I am. I don't know
So,
if I have a name.
Where's it located at? If anybody's watching,
It's in San Antonio. There we go.
Outside San Antonio.
Yes.
And y'all hold seminars and trials throughout the year a couple of times.
I counted this time. We have seminars and trials, but on that field we've had 37 trials.
37 trials.
Yeah.
That's
a lot of trials.
That's more than I've seen for sure.
That is a lot of trials. That's a lot of keeping dogs quiet in their car. Because
And-
I am the barking police.
And staying off your good grass.
Yes, stay off the good grass, exactly.
So you've had to have traveled all over the country and judged plenty of trials. Has there been a singular trial that really stood out for dogs or anything like that? Is there experience that you had?
There was one early on in my judging career that was absolutely amazing, just by sheer number of dogs. There were 41 dogs entered. And it took 3 days to judge. I had to do the brevets on Friday. There was, I don't know how many ones, jillion ones. And I don't think there were many threes, but there was so many ones. It was a great
41 dogs.
41 dogs. 41
What?
dogs trial.
That and if for
That
someone
was in Nevada. That was
for
in
someone
Nevada.
that's watching that might not understand Mondioring, there's some YouTube out there that you can watch that does a little explanation. 41 dogs.
They weren't all high-level dogs, but,
yeah, but still,
there was lots of dogs.
just checking 41 dogs in
Yeah, it took a
takes
while.
a long
Yeah,
time.
it took a while.
And the brevet can take anywhere from 5 to 15 minutes.
Yeah,
and then
it brevet didn't take long.
and
But the people most of the people in it were new. Lots of crossovers from PSA at that particular trial.
Yeah.
So it was fun. There was a lot of new.
And where was that trial at? Do you
It
remember?
was in Pahrump, Nevada.
Holy moly, that's a lot of dogs. I
a
think
lot
the
of
biggest
dogs.
trial I've seen might have been your trial down
Yeah,
there.
we've had some big.
The last one I was there at this earlier this year had
12, 15.
10, 12 dogs
Yeah,
at least.
We usually have around that. But there's trials. A lot of these trials are getting bigger and bigger.
So it seems like here recently there's been more clubs created, more trials held, and even more members and decoys joining the sport. Is that been a natural progression you've seen through the years, or what do you think's causing that right now?
Just exposure, really. But clubs are the backbone of the sport. I've said that from the very beginning. It is the clubs and the fact that the clubs have training, regular training, and hold regular trials. Put those trials on the books, that people can train towards it, and that's what makes this sport grow. Is the clubs and the trials. They don't have to be big trials, but those two things are super, super important as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, and I can see a trend when someone new comes to a seminar or to training and watch. There's always that back and forth, like, are they going to come back? But then as they get more comfortable with the people that's training and the dog starts to progress a little bit, at least in my experience, and I was like, yeah, I'm not quitting now. I just got this thing figured out, kind of.
Yeah, and I think when you start to make a little bit of progress, I mean, that's the name of the game, is to be able to get out there. And the learning curve in Mondioring is endless, and that's one of the biggest beauties in this sport. Is I've been in all of the sports, and the learning curve is not endless in some of the others. You get it, and you've got it. But Mondioring, if you ever think you've got it, you've got something coming to you.
I don't have any experience in the other sports, but when I watch other trials, especially on the computer, you see this exact same thing almost over and over.
Yeah.
But Mondioring, I've seen
That's not the way it works.
I've seen line dancing. We've wrapped presents. I've seen kissing booths. I mean, and then Halloween, and that's just the few that I've.
That's
been
just
to.
one hand. You know, what'd you see on the other
Yeah,
hand?
that was almost one weekend. I mean, that's a lot of. So the complexity of Mondioring.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
As soon as you think you've trained enough, that some crazy guy runs across the field and shoots a gun while your dog's
Some
gonna
judge
stay.
is going to come up with something that you hadn't thought of.
That's right. I was like, I didn't even know you could do that. And then my dog's hightailing it across the field, so
There you
there
go.
we started all over.
Here we go.
You say you've trained several dogs.
A few dogs.
What might be the one that will go down in history, or at least in your heart, as that special one? What tell us about that?
It's the dog I own now.
Pancho Villa? And
That's the dog that's going to drag me kicking and screaming to a podium somewhere.
yeah.
He is, in 35 years of dog training and competing, I have never had a dog that I believed had all of the characteristics that are needed to go to Europe and compete. That's a huge challenge. I've seen people go and stumble many, many times. And I've seen people go and succeed, but there's a particular dog that does well.
And he's pretty young still.
He's young.
He just recently got his, was it brevet? Or
No, he did first he was 1 and he did a BH. And maybe that might be my most proud moment because he's not exactly the most social dog in the world.
That's a Kestra.
It's a Kestra
puppy. I see they definitely look a lot alike, and
yes,
I see some
do.
similarities
yes,
in the way they work for sure.
He is. That dog is going to take me places that I had no intention of going.
And where did you do your one leg at? Was it?
It was
club?
My club.
At club a couple weeks ago, I think.
About a month ago.
There might be some people out there watching that don't know what Mondioring is, or thinking about taking that first step in. What would you say to that person, or to say, let's go ahead and do this?
There's 12 steps of Mondioring addiction. and I think I'm on my 3rd set of 12 steps. Recovery is not an option. We're not talking recovery. And some of the steps are, they're not bad steps. A new car, new puppy, new bigger, better crates.
You buy a house because it's
house, better training field, different city, different job. Get a divorce. That's on lots of people's 12 steps.
Yeah, luckily I was lucky enough to talk my wife into getting a dog and start training, and she enjoys it. So
you're lucky.
That was easy enough.
So, but in all seriousness, Mondioring is tremendously fulfilling. Really, I can't think of a better way to put it. I love the sport. I wake up every single morning going, okay, what are we going to do today? Dogs, what are we going to do today?
It's been an honor talking to you, Ann, and we're on the eve of our annual December trial here in Texas. And you judged it last year. You're going to judge it again tomorrow. And hopefully all the dogs have success. Everyone leaves safely, and everyone has a good experience. It's a pleasure that we got you to sit down and chat with us for a minute. And I'm hoping to use these things as a little bit of an introduction. If someone says, maybe I want to have Ann come judge a trial that's never met you before, but I doubt that would probably happen. You've been in this so long. People that haven't met me. And at least they can maybe click on this video and say, oh, here's a little bit of Ann's personality, and get to meet you a little bit, because obviously the United States is much bigger than some countries that compete in this sport. So we
have as many judges and clubs and decoys here as many of the countries in the world.
Yeah, but just the distance in between is huge. It's huge.
Europeans don't understand how. Yeah. I mean, I've got to drive 7.5 hours to get home, and that's not even halfway across the state.
Yeah.
So there we go.
So it's been a pleasure talking with Ann again.
Thank you very much.
I think this is the 3rd edition, so I hope to do a lot more in the future, and maybe even check back with a few people as we
find you some more people
as we go through the series. It's thanks, Ann, for sitting down with me for a minute, and you're
welcome.
Thank you.
All right.